Hello and welcome to Jam Presents. Normally we bring you a weekly podcast series about Murder in Small Town X, but this time we've got a special treat for fans of the show. Join us as we chat with Pat Battistini, the actor that played Thibodeaux.
Good luck. Hey, Thibodeaux, Zelensky.
All right, listen to me. Don't listen to what they're going to say upstairs, all right? They're talking out both sides of their mouth. You got that? You understand?
Absolutely.
Here I am.
Wow.
What an entrance.
Incredible.
Two things. Hopefully you can hear me okay. I had to move out of my office, and then also I have some work going on in our house here, so there might be a little bit of construction noise.
That's fine. No worries.
Well, hey, thank you first of all for reaching out. That's so cool of you guys, and it's amazing that there is a following for this this series still.
Believe you me, we are more, thank you, because we're more appreciative. Being able to sort of chat after, what was it, about 9 weeks ago, Jace, wasn't it, that we had a conversation, sort of the end of November it was, and we were saying, look, we want to do something. We've been through lockdown, several lockdowns now in the UK, and it was very much like we've got to do something. We're bored, what are we into? And Jace, I've always gone to Jace for, so I'm Mike, by the way, and Jace is, you can see Jason's name, obviously I come up as Jam Presents. But yeah, we just said, look, we need a break from our existing jobs, which is on the railway. So it was very much, want to do something different. And Jace said, there's a program I remember from when I was about 14 years old. Probably too young to watch it at the time, so you didn't actually see any episodes. And we went in completely blind. So the idea was that we watch each episode in turn and then record the podcast based on each episode. So we've got 8 episodes ready. Well, 5 episodes ready. The other 3 are recorded, but I've got loads of editing still to do. But yeah, from Friday, we're going to be releasing them as a weekly series. And I'm amazed that it started off as like just, Jason and I having a chat saying we want to do something with our time. And we then started to sort of tweet about it and say, look, we're thinking about doing this. Are there any people that remember it, or, and get in touch with cast, crew, directors and whatnot. And so many people have said, oh, I'm on it. Because I was a bit intrusive and got onto people's Twitter feeds and stuff. And it's like, look, here we go. This is what we're doing. And people are like, no, don't apologize. This is a great intrusion because, we want it to be revived. We want Murder in Small Town X to be remembered for what it was. And I think that, and we've spoke about it on numerous occasions, but 15 years ahead of its time, because it's incredible. And the experience that we've had over the last 8 weeks, and to bring us to this moment for you to come on and say, here I am, it's magic. It's made 2021 and we're only, first week of February.
Yeah.
Well, that's amazing that you remembered it, and also too, you were so right that it was way ahead of its time. I've actually said that many times to my friends and some of the other people that I've kept in touch with, that it was really, the thing as an actor. Hindsight's 2020, and 2020 was a terrible year. So the thing about it was, you look at it and you go, that first episode, there was a lot of people introduced. And as an actor, I would have loved to have done maybe like 6 episodes of like a soap opera where everybody watching could get to know every character. And then the murder happens. And then you bring in the investigators, because that was, I think, the one thing that was really hard to follow. It was so many people in the beginning. You're like, wow, who are these people? Who are these people? Who are these people? Now, of course, if you stuck around and watched the whole thing, it filtered out a little bit more and you got to meet them a little bit more too. But I just thoroughly enjoyed it. And I thought it was such a great idea. And then there was no season 2 for the next group, and I was like, oh, sorry, that's one of my kids. So yeah, it was just a wonderful concept. And George, for sure, have you reached out to George, the executive producer, the creator of it? Have you reached out to him at all?
Only just tweeted, but again, I guess he's, because we're not friends on there or anything like that, it's just one of those, I'm probably somewhere on his timeline, so it's not really, yeah.
Well, I'll definitely, I don't know if George is on, Facebook as much or whatever, but like I said, I'll reach out to Gordon Cassidy.
Okay, magic.
Yeah, that'd be brilliant.
And George as well. And then some other castmates, I was thinking, I was like, oh, Dr. Neva Bowden, Kathy Shanley, is one of my good friends. So
Incredible.
She was also one of our coaches, because we met a couple times prior to going there. I'm sure you guys have a million questions, so stop me if you want to ask something.
That's all right. You carry on. We have got some questions, but we'll get there.
I'll just ramble on. So we met in LA before we headed off to Eastport, Maine. That's where we shot it at, and I think it's almost, maybe I think I'm correct, where it's the most eastern city in the United States.
Okay.
I know we walked to Canada sometimes at night just to get out of where we're at. But we met in LA, and Kathy sort of coached things. We talked things out a little bit more about our characters. But of course, once we showed up on set, that went all in a garbage can, in the sense of not what Kathy was saying philosophically, but incidents and things that were happening, because you had no idea what these investigators were going to talk to you about, because we were sequestered from them. I'd never met any of them. And it was so surreal that you had these people coming at you that you didn't know, you kind of knew about them, but we had to stay away. If you weren't on set that day, if you weren't shooting that day, we were in a hotel and we had to stay away from the set. We couldn't go there. So we only met these investigators in our character. Go ahead.
No, that does. So one of the questions was around how much did you sort of mingle with the investigators? Obviously, the answer is very, very little, other than when you're in. But they don't have a script, presumably. So you've got an idea as to what you need to convey, or the information that you need to convey. But how strange was that compared to most normal acting roles? Because normal acting roles, you've got, all right, you're waiting for them to finish their line so you can start yours, and it's all, you've well read ahead. I get a lot of it was ad-lib, presumably.
Yeah, reactive to what they were saying. So.
Yes, exactly. And that was the audition process. I think I had 3 or 4 auditions, and it was all improvised. There was no script. Normally when you go in for, especially on a studio, that was Fox who was shooting it. So when you have a TV show or a film, you go in and you have your sides there, and you can't, stray away from the sides, because, they paid a writer a lot of money to write the script. They could care less what you have to say. But in this audition process, it was all improvised. And I was with George, and Pat Melton, she was the casting director out here as well. And he would just ask questions, and I would just, be who I thought this character was. The character, when I auditioned, ironically, he was a lot nicer than what happened. Because when I kind of saw the location and what was going on, I felt, I needed to be a little bit more gritty. And that's
was that your choice then? Was it to sort of?
Yeah, I didn't have the beard in the audition, and when I knew I got the job, and after seeing things a little bit more, I'm like, you know what? I think I'm gonna grow out the beard. I could always shave it off, and I'm glad I had it, because it did add more to the. And every day it was weird, because I'm sorry guys, I'm all over the place.
No,
it's fine.
Okay, every day when I would report to wardrobe. Ironically, it was right across the street from the house that the investigators were staying in. They had a sweet pad too. That was pretty sweet where they were staying. So anyway, so the wardrobe and our holding area was across the street. But every day before I went out, I'd get in my smelly, and I never cleaned it. I told the girl, don't clean it. So it really smelled like the fish, like from the first episode. It was pretty bad. So when these guys showed up, I smelled pretty bad. And then I would always stick my hands, and they had some sort of powder to dirty, stuff up. So I have the grit underneath my fingernails and everything like that. So I'm not a method actor, but I felt it was more to throw at these investigators if I showed up and they're like, man, this guy smells pretty bad.
It really worked as well, though, because it didn't feel like it was disjointed. There wasn't a moment where you thought, oh, an actor's cocked that up or something's gone wrong there. It was so fluid, and it was as though you were
natural.
just real people.
It? Yeah.
Exactly that.
Yeah.
Well, that was also with the writing, because every night after we shot something, if the investigators got too close with something, they'd have to rewrite it. So when we show up the next day, we'd show up the next day and they'd say, hey guys, we had to change the plot line a little bit, because you did read over the script, and you didn't get the script until the day before you were showing up. So I didn't know what any of the other episodes were going about. So you just got it, and then And George and Gordy and everybody and all the directors too are very cool about just saying, yeah, run with it, take it, whatever you want. And I look back at some like, oh, I should have did this, or I should have that. But every actor does that when you're improvising. Yeah, going back to meeting the investigators really fast. Alan, I can't remember his last name. Alan Fried or Freed, I think, was the one of the investigators, the guy from Tennessee. To this day, I have never met the man. You know, I could walk right by him and he would not know who I am at all.
That's brilliant.
But yeah, I mean, they just told me to constantly I was really hard on him, you know what I mean? And so I was nervous when these guys show up, because the one thing you can't do is like, you know, flub up and give them more information than you're supposed to.
Yeah, of course.
So that was where I was always hesitant. But on the same note, whenever I'd go back and watch the episodes, actually, I saw the episodes only until they were finished afterwards. I didn't realize how scared he was of me. Had I known that, you know, I'd have been even more just into him and stuff, because it was just fun. It was just a lot of fun. But there was, you know, everybody was nervous because of the you needed to keep the story alive, and you couldn't digress in one direction too much at all. So, you know, but it was, you know, it was a fun experience. It was great.
So we spoke to, or we've been in touch with Andy, who went out second. And the first time we meet Thibodeaux is when he shoves Andy into a wall in the courtroom. The very
within like 5 minutes of the first episode.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that we commented on, and the fact that he's written a memoir now, or he's in the process of writing his memoirs, and in there it says, I remember being shit scared when I got shoved against a wall by one of the lead characters in the first few minutes of being in the town, because they came in on the bus apparently, got pulled off by the police chief, and then you're shoving him into a wall. That's fantastic. Yeah.
Well, that was George for sure. Again, the executive producer. As soon as they got off the bus, he said he came up to me and he whispered, because he was like kind of off back. And that was a crazy room because there were a lot of people in that meeting room and stuff. And so he's kind of just like, you know, the lion looking for the one you're going to attack. And so he goes to me, he goes, that one, get that one right there. And shove him up against the wall and threaten him, or give him some information or whatever, or tell him to, you know, give him a warning. So he pointed out Andrew to me, and so that's why I was just kind of sitting there going, duh, 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 and all of a sudden when I saw him, and again the adrenaline's going, because you're like, and you only had one take. That was the thing.
Yeah,
they never went back and reshot it. So if I missed my opportunity, I missed my opportunity. So that's where, you know, it was really nerve-wracking too as an actor. You never want to disappoint and get that, you know, lose the money shot. So so that was George. That was all George telling me to go get him and just start right off things off with a bang. And Mo Zielinski by you know, Sam
with the tattoo.
Yeah, Sam is doing a lot of television. I don't know if you guys IMDb'd him, but
we did. Yeah.
yeah. And he was so quiet on the set. You know, he was so quiet on the set. And it was kind of like I'd lose track of him because he was so quiet sometimes. But he was the tattoo was a wonderful thing. As actors, it was such a great opportunity for all of us to portray these characters I was there, I think it was 8 weeks, whatever we shot. And, you know, those opportunities don't come that often, unfortunately. So it was great to be with other actors for that amount of time and portray these characters.
That's really pleasing to hear, because what we didn't want was for you to see, oh, it's the worst year of my, you know, I hated it. It was a horrible experience. You know, that's why it never happened again, because everyone's too stressed and stuff. Yeah. No, the fact that it was a positive experience is music to our ears, really. Yeah, the hardest thing was waiting, because sometimes in the room when they were back at their place with Gary Frito, I'm going to blame Gary. So tell Gary, why were you talking so much, Gary? All the actors were waiting for them. So we had to wait. And one of the scenes on the boat with the fish, when I was that was one of those moments where I'm like, I'd love to go back and redo that, because we were outside and I think I might have been waiting in the cold for like an hour and a half, and I just was like, felt numb. I couldn't hardly even talk. And but that was the only downfall, was at times you get psyched up for your scene, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, it's going to be another 20 minutes, and so mentally
that
Yeah.
was it. But I mean, who am I to complain about that? You know, I'm on location and I'm working. That was the most wonderful thing. So and that town was amazing too. I have to give credit to Fox and George and the location designer. That statue of that fisherman that
Yep.
really that was made just for the series. And I actually, it's funny you guys reached out, because probably maybe a month ago or 2 months ago, I did a Google Earth search, and I think that statue is, whenever they took that Google Earth picture, that statue is still there in that
Yeah, I
town.
think it's still there.
Yeah,
It's still there
it is.
now. Yeah.
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 So we revitalized, not I say we, but Fox and George and everybody revitalized that town and brought them a lot of things, because they loved having us there too. The guy, I'll remember it in a second. The guy that had the boat that I drove, my boat, you know, he took me out a couple times and we interacted with them because he had to show me how to drive the boat. And
Again, another question.
yeah, no, it was amazing. I went over to his house. I had dinner with his family. I met his kids as me, not as Thibodeaux. Yeah, I was scared
In the stinky clothes.
Yeah, exactly, the stinky clothes. But I actually have a picture of the boat still up in my office. I give it to you, but it's all closed off now because of the work they're doing. But but I do have my hat. Oh, I should have brought that down too and showed you guys. I still have my hat from the boat and everything.
Amazing.
It's really good to hear this.
Yeah, that one doesn't stink, because that was just the one I used for the boat, whatever. Yeah, so it was just, everybody was they were all gracious. You know, it was funny too, the one police officer, not ours, Terrence Winter, I think Terrence, that's his last name, who's an executive producer on Castle and all these big shows now.
Okay.
He's doing very well for himself too. But the real police officer in town pulled me over after I drove the truck off when we were doing the scene when we found what's her face's body. They pulled it out of the water.
Oh, Carmen's body.
Carmen, yeah, finding Carmen's body. And I drove off in the truck, and all of a sudden, farther down the road, out of shot, I got to, you know, the guy's pulling me. He's like, "Hey, you can't drive around here like that." And I'm like, "Oh, okay. Well, I didn't know how much I was on camera and how much I wasn't, so I was just acting
In character.
Yeah, in character." So it's like, he scared me. Here I am being this scary guy, and all of a sudden I get pulled over, and I had to walk away with my tail between my legs because I was so scared I thought I was going to get a ticket.
It's fantastic. We did hear, so we got in touch with a few people on Reddit, on one of the main on a main message board, to ask residents of Maine or Eastport what they sort of thought. And one comment back was they transformed the town, and it was like Disney had come to town, basically. It was now like Disneyland, and the amount of work that was done, and the
Extras,
fact it was buzzing. You know, it was a real sort of good few months in the town, and since then as well. And as you say, the statue is still well remembered, and obviously there's a lot of tragedy around it. It now serves as a tribute, which is, you know, it's fantastic that it serves as a tribute to Angel. And that was one thing that took the wind out of our sails. We were so excited for this series, watched all sort of 8 episodes and got to the end of talking about it, and we promised each other that we weren't going to go on IMDb, we weren't going to go on Google, we wanted to know nothing about the show,
going blind
until
like
the very end.
Yeah.
And honestly, within about 30 minutes after we watched that last episode together, well, I say we did it remotely on like this on Zoom, and it honestly, it just took the wind out of our sails completely. But it's incredible that they still remember Angel, and they still get around and have gathering around the statue and stuff like that every year to commemorate those fallen. But it's amazing what a show from 20 years ago can still have that
Effect on
impact.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was dramatic foreshadowing almost of the whole thing, with, you know, because we were all so excited about the show and the show premiere, everything, and then it happened with Angel, and it was kind of like it just took really the air out of the sails for the show
for everyone. Yeah, of course.
And it was just sad. It was just so sad. Again, I didn't get to meet Angel. I haven't met any of the investigators to this day. It'd be fun to have a reunion with them. Yeah, the transformation itself of the town. I can imagine being somebody in that town, and all of a sudden there were probably, with the production, there might have been 50 people from Hollywood coming out there and invading their town, but it just injected energy. So it was a total yin and yang moment of where we had all this wonderful energy for 8 weeks, and then how things ended up, you know, with Angel.
The other thing is the I guess building onto that in terms of what it injected into the town and stuff is the budget. In the we don't need to know numbers or anything like that, but you can tell, and that's why it was or is so widely regarded as being this amazing thing that you know was way ahead of its time, was because there was no expense spared. And as you say, there were stacks of people involved behind the scenes, stacks of actors. It was, I mean, reality
great writing,
TV,
great location, everything like that. And I think this is why it's so underrated and ahead of its time, because anything like that being made today would be a surefire hit. I'm sure of it.
I would love to see it done again, definitely. And they actually, the downtown area too, you know, you felt bad for this little town, because you could see, I don't know what was there, canning, fish canning or whatever industry was there before, but they were hurting, and it went away. And so the whole downtown, not only the place where the investigators stayed, but to create that facade. Because in Hollywood, if you go to a studio, you know, if you go to a studio lot, you know, the old Western or buildings are there. It's just the front, it's the facade, or the bank or whatever, the New York town, like the Seinfeld Street or whatever. Yeah. So, but in this place, these were actual structures that were still there. So they went in, like for Ronnie, I forgot what his character's name was, the nightclub, you know, his nightclub, they went in there and they actually created this nightclub, and then all the other windows that were there, because you couldn't walk down and see, you know, like, you know, paper in front of the window.
The wrong name or what have you. Yeah.
So they added all these different things.
Just the details, attention to detail is incredible. Yeah,
it was. So the set design, the production, they were absolutely amazing with it, you know, that, and when we showed up to it, we were just as amazed as probably the town was. We were like, wow, this is pretty cool. And then I realized too, like you mentioned, the production, the money that went into it, because we didn't know. You don't know when you show up on set what it's going to be like, and then you see everything, and you're like, holy cow, this is
a fairly big production.
I better not screw this up.
I mean, going back to what you said about it being one take as well, that didn't even cross my mind. I just thought, you know, if you get it wrong, you'd then say, oh no, you guys go back, we'll get the actors back in, we'll start that scene again. But that wasn't the case then. It was, what we saw was very much exactly as it happened.
Yeah, because you had to keep it real with the investigators, because, for example, if, you know, like the episode on the boat with the fish, when the two came in, I forgot what their names were. Ellen might have been one of them, but anyway, if, you know, there was the director said, okay, you know what, let's do that again, Pat, I'd like you to go ahead and so he calls me Pat, and now I'm not Thibodeaux anymore.
Yeah.
And then I'm talking to him like I'm talking to you. Okay, I got it. Okay, I got it. And then he's like, and then all the investigators are like, oh, wait a minute, he sounds like a cool guy, you know. Then they're
no longer nervous or anything. And you could see that. You could see that in a lot of the contestants, especially when they go on the to find the killer clue, when they're in pitch black and they've just got a little camera on them.
Yeah,
they're terrified.
They are terrified. Yeah, because they're just living it. And I think we said that about Alan in that in the funeral. Is it episode 2, the funeral? Alan's fully on living it. He's there in the town. That's his mindset. This is all real. He's not on the game show, is he?
So that's where you Thibodeaux is going around with a bottle of scotch and walking around the gravestones, and there's a risk of him heading back to the house where other investigators are milling about looking for clues, and Alan's task is to keep you from getting in your truck. At one point he stands in front of it, and then you're just like shouting, slurring, you know, telling him where to go, but you've got this bottle of whiskey in your hand. Oh, it's an incredible scene. But
I'd have to go back and watch that. I've only seen it once, you know, and I have it all here too. I actually have it all. I'd have to go back and watch it. But you know, when you're telling me these things, I'm like, oh yeah, remember it.
One of the big things is that it's a pleasure to have you talking to us, because the most notable character, without a doubt, throughout all the first sort of 5 or 6 episodes until your death came along, and then within the first 30 seconds of one of the episode 5 or 6. It was devastating with them watching the credits, and they're like, "No, we've written Thibodeaux off now." And you're like, "Well,
the good news is that I was supposed to die, I think, in episode 3. I was only going to be there for 3 weeks. Yeah, and then and just like you see on television when they do a spoof of a soap opera, everybody turns to the page. Oh, good, I didn't die this episode. I'm here for another week.
Yeah.
And that was the same thing because we didn't know. I really thought I was only supposed to be there because I think that's what they told me. I was going to be there for 3 weeks. And so when I got the script, I'm like, I'm not dead. I'm still in. I was like a kid in a candy store. This was great. And then another week, and I'm like, another week? And seriously, I'm going to be here another week? This is great. And then when the death thing was coming up, you're like, okay, well, all good things must come to an end. Going back to the camera though, and you'll have to maybe do some research on this, but I think that whole neck camera thing, that was George's ideas years before Small Town X. I think when they were doing, he was one of the original guys on Real World. There's a series on MTV that started. And I think that was his thought of putting that camera there, because George always was very creative when it came to the reality thing, to keeping things so much real and in that moment. He didn't like having people talk about things of the past or whatever. He liked seeing things in that moment, not even reenactments. He didn't like that. He liked in the moment. So that whole thing with the camera around their neck, that was all George. He wanted definitely to do that. But I thought he might have even came up, again, trivia, came up with that original idea of the camera.
It's superb. It really adds to it. It definitely does.
Because the black light and everybody's eyes are glowing.
It's just like raw emotion straight away. Yeah, it's really good.
It is pretty creepy. But there was one funny moment too with the older gentleman. He was one of the older guys.
Of the actors, or?
Yeah, I have it up here on IMDb. I can look really fast.
You've got C.R. Flint, who was Nate's dad.
C.R. Flint. That's who I'm talking about.
We're like an encyclopedia now.
Yeah, you guys, thank you so much, because I haven't mentioned these names in a while. But, the funny things that happened on the set was like, George C.R. and bless his heart, I think he died like just maybe a couple months after we finished production.
Oh, blimey, okay.
Yeah. We've had a couple cast members die. Don Chastain, who was the very voice, he was the guy in charge of the sweepers. He was the
scientist.
Yeah, exactly. Don, nobody knew it. And I'll tell you what, talking about, an actor dedicated to his craft, he had cancer. And on the set, I don't know what stage he was when he was there, but I remember, him, always having that handkerchief and coughing really hard. I just thought that he was a smoker, but I didn't realize that he had cancer at the time, and he also died a little bit after we finished. Yeah.
Crikey.
Yeah. But good old C.R. Flint. So George gave him instructions, hey, you stay at the top of the hill. It was during the burial, I think, scene in one of the beginning episodes, and stay up on top of the hill. So, and it was important for him to stay there for some reason, or maybe it was his funeral or something. I don't know, whatever. Anyway, he got tired of waiting up there because he thought, it's been a while and it's live, so it should be done. So he walks down and he starts showing up in the scene that he's supposed to be dead or supposed to be something, and like, oh my God. So the production assistant had to run over there and grab him before he got into frame. Things like that were just like really close calls, that because it was live, it's crazy, because you have people coming in from all different directions. But there was just some great moments, that you're laughing about, that afterwards you share with your castmates. Did you see that? No, what happened? Oh, this would happen, blah, blah, blah. And just, oh my gosh. And usually breakfast was like, back at the hotel we were at, was like a little reunion, because every morning we talked about, the day before, what you shot and what we're shooting today. And you'd ask people, what are you doing? And it was like, and because you don't know other people's storyline as well, because they only give you what you're doing just to keep it wraps, because there was a rumor floating around that somebody was leaking information to one of the investigators. Again, it was a rumor. I don't know. But when you have 50 people on a set, people talk. So that was the hardest thing, at keeping things under wrap. And I mean, one point, one of the clues, I think, when the blood I had, that I was doing transfusions.
Yeah.
that was one of those moments where the story took a turn, because it was originally written as Deer's Blood, but one of the investigators guessed it. And, you know, the writers were like, how did she know that? So she might have been smart. She might have been leaked information. Who knows? Nevertheless, they had to change the storyline to the blood I imported, I think it was from China that I was getting it from, or something like that, you know? So I'm reading this going, okay then. So that just little instances like that happened to me, and I'm sure it happened to other actors as well, as when they got their storylines and they had to kind of change.
So that reactive writing, it's very good.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Yeah. So I don't know if you have any questions, you guys just fire away though, because if I can answer them, I'm more than happy to talk about it.
I think just from the way that you're eager to talk about it, and the way that you come across it, it rates us pretty highly in terms of your career. Like, the one thing was, just to find out, we don't really need to ask that question, because I think you're so passionate about it, and you've already stated that it was, you know, way ahead of its time. But how does it rank in terms of what you've done? Because evidently you're producing films and stuff like that now, but is it one of those long-lasting memories that you've you know, that will stay in there?
Yes, definitely. And for me, I moved to Hollywood in 1998. So, you know, 2 years later, I got this gig, and I kind of wish that I would have got it maybe 10 years later. Because even though I was appreciative of being there, I didn't appreciate it enough.
Yeah.
Because you're kind of like, this happens to everybody.
Yeah.
You go to Hollywood, you got to, you know, go on location for 8 weeks and on a show on Fox. That doesn't happen to everybody. So I was very fortunate to experience it, but I wasn't, I mean, I appreciate a lot of things. Any moment, you know, you're working, you know, the saying is, any day you're working in Hollywood is a good day, because it's that competitive. So I did appreciate it. And I was actually, I got fired from my job waiting tables, because I told them I'll be back in 3 weeks. And they're like, you know, after 4 weeks, they're like, you coming back? And I'm like, I'm still on the show. You know?
He's not been killed off yet.
So
I'm waiting.
I lost my job for waiting tables, but that was a good reason to lose a job, because I was working in Hollywood.
Definitely.
So yeah, it was a great experience, but I really wish I would have enjoyed it or appreciated it more, because you never know when your next gig is.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, sorry, I'm rambling on here.
That's
You guys,
fine.
I want to talk about Small Town X.
Oh, look, it's incredible. Just
It's been a pleasure, Pat. It really has.
Yeah.
My pleasure. I truly appreciate you guys. And if you have more questions or more thoughts, just let me know. I'll connect you with some more of the cast members. If I can, I'll reach out to them and I'll let them know what you're doing.
That's awesome. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you guys might have to turn this into what other kind of cast are there? After a while, you guys set up a whole website for this. Have you guys found out, are there a lot of people still interested in the show? Like, have other people shown that you guys have crossed paths with? They're like, oh yeah.
So we've already so our intention now is that we wanted to do this. There's they made the British version in 2003-4 or something like that. So again, we're doing the same thing, but that's what we're going to start watching next week. So we're going to do the Murder Game, and then we're going to get into shows like Who Done It. We've already seen The Mole from a few years back, so we've lost that now. But it's all these sort of reality murder mystery type shows that we want to watch. But as soon as we put I started just searching the hashtag and searching, you know, it's so easy now to see what exposure things are getting. And we've only been really talking about it. We've not released a single episode yet, but we've been talking about it for the last couple of weeks. And we've already got sort of between 20 and 30 people saying can't wait, or yeah, that looks really good. Some people are saying they've never seen it, but they really want to come on this journey with us, having listened. So like a few close friends and stuff who've now listened to the first podcast, the first half an hour, and they've gone, yeah, I'm into that. Just from the music at the start, we're really into that. But there are so many other people, especially in the US, that are saying, and you'll see it all over Twitter, people will say, can
you remember it? Yeah, it's underrated.
There's never been a show like it since.
Yeah.
Reality TV just isn't the same anymore. It's done cheap. I mean, if you've got Big Brother or something like that, it's easy. You need accommodation. You need 10 wannabe famous people, and you've got, you know, food, and that's all you got to do is put cameras on them 24/7. It doesn't cost much. Whereas Small Town X was just and that's quite possibly why nowadays it's not been done again, because the sheer budget that it takes to, create something like that.
Yeah, it does. It takes a village, literally.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But that's what most people are commenting on. So there are, a handful at the moment, but again, we've only just scratched the surface. And the point was for us, we wanted to do the show, and then it was only sort of in episodes 2, 3, 4 that were like, there's more to this. There's so much more that we don't know that happened or went on. And you've gone through and you've given us loads of insight, because there were so many things that we weren't aware, and we could only guess. And there are snippets of us throughout the podcast. And I think one of the first things, Jay, the opening is Founders Day parade, the parade in the town where they have Founders Day. And Jason's like, Founders Day parade? Yeah, all they've done is just bump that onto another parade. That wasn't for TV. That was just a parade that they found and put the actors in. No, that was a real parade. We're blown away by that. The fact that you put on a
I think
parade.
maybe we are on such a British sort of budget, TV budget. We thought, well, that parade's happening. They've just got the actors and just said, all right, let's pretend it's our parade instead.
Well, that's the great thing about going out of Hollywood. When you say you're doing something in Hollywood, everybody's like, okay, wow, what's next? But when you go to these smaller towns at other parts of the country, they're all in. They are so all in. And that's what's great about shooting on location, that people are willing to help more, and they're wanting to be a part of something, because when they want to be a part of it, it shows. Definitely people care about the craftsmanship, about what they're doing, this and that. So that was the other thing about Eastport and all the people from there. That was so great, because they were just like, let's do this. I mean, okay, I'm going to sit out and just sweep. That's all you want me to do is just stand there and sweep. Throw on this outfit and just stand there and sweep. Don't look, no expressions. All you got to do is sweep. And people are like, hey, this is great. I'm going to be in a Hollywood TV show and I'm sweeping. So,
we'd do it, wouldn't we? We'd jump at the chance.
100%, yeah. 100%.
I'm from the Chicagoland area. When I first started doing stuff, it was the same way. People like, hey, we need extras to come over and sit, in the stadium. I'm like, I'll do that. It's a Hollywood movie. I'll do that. So it's just the fun, the excitement, the definite excitement of it. And I wish I would have thought ahead of time, because I had some, like, I still have a sweatshirt they gave me that the town of Sunrise. That was yeah. I still have the little logo that they had, like, and I'll tell you, Mayor, what was the mayor's name? Tim Walco's
Bowden, Emerson Bowden.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Because he's married to
Kathy. The doctor. Yeah, that's right.
But Tim was a stand-up comedian, and off camera, oh my gosh, he was a riot. He was so funny. Oscar Blodgett, who was the postmaster, he was dead already. He wasn't even in the show. And Tim was giving George a hard time about not getting more screen time, because here he comes all the way from Chicago. He's here. He wants to be on camera. He's a stand-up comedian. He's great. And so he goes, just sarcastically out of the blue one day, George is standing there, and he goes, hey, George. And George looks over, he goes, Oscar Blodgett is getting more screen time than I am. Are you going to write me in something pretty soon? George kind of like looked at him like, what are you talking? And then he got it, because Oscar wasn't in anything already. But, it was one of those moments again with Tim. Tim was great, funny guy. Every morning at breakfast when Tim came down, it was just, we were all just crying from laughter. You know what I mean? So it was utopic. It really was.
That's really good to hear. Really good to hear.
Yeah. I look at 20 years later and I remember that line. Oscar Blodgett is getting more screen time than me. Whatever. So, but anyway, guys, listen, feel free to reach out anytime. I'm more than happy if you have any more questions, if you want to chat on Zoom or whatever. I'm around, especially with COVID now. We have a lot of time on our hands. I'm looking forward to you guys. I'm excited for you that you get to reach out and talk to Gary and some of the other cast members.
Yeah, Gary's been in touch as well, which is fantastic. Thank you for that.
Yeah, it's funny. His son and my son go to the same school, and we showed up at a parent-teacher thing. I hadn't seen Gary in years, and we were at the school, and all of a sudden I'm looking over. I'm like, freaking Gary Frito's here? What's going on? So he had moved. He's a retired LA police detective, and so he and Holly, his wife, is one also. They had moved out of LA and moved up to where I'm at. It's kind of like a suburb. And so that he's literally, 3 minutes from my house now.
Incredible.
And so we see each other every now and then, but Gary's going to have so much more knowledge because he was at all the production meetings with all of the directors and the producers, and George and Gordon and Bob Fisher and those guys. So he's got a wealth of knowledge. But yeah, I can't wait to connect you with some of the other cast members too, because I'm sure they have other stories that I don't remember. You guys remember more than I do. So.
It's fresh for us. Yeah, it's not 20 years ago. It was a week ago.
I'm going to have to go back and watch some of these episodes. Well, thanks again, guys. I really appreciate it. You made my day.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I truly, really, it was very kind of you guys to reach out. So thanks so much. And I look forward to chatting more, and I look forward, and I'm happy for you guys to be able to connect with more people too.
Brilliant, Pat. Really
Thank you
appreciate
so
it.
much.
Thanks for your time.
You got it, guys. All right, take
Amazing.
care.
Cheers. Take
Thank you
care.
very much.
Bye.
Bye.
Talk to you soon.
Thanks for watching. Join us for Series 2 of Jam Presents as we watch a 2003 BBC production based on Murder in Small Town X, The Murder Game.